What do you do, man, and how it all started?
What do? I am into a couple of things.
Hmm.
Primarily, it's the entrepreneurship. So, what really keeps me busy is a couple of business setups.
Hmm.
So how did it all start? I mean, it started when I was like 10 and I wanted to do something with my life and started selling crisps in a local cinema. So
Hmm.
my entrepreneurship started from there. So
Hmm.
by the age of 14, I already started making money, making my own expenses,
That's
meeting
wonderful.
my bills and all that. So
Hmm.
Alhamdulillah, since 14 years of age, I haven't really looked back. I'm
Hmm.
39 now, so yeah, it's around pretty 15 to 16 years of entrepreneurship.
Hmm.
So
That's
yeah,
wonderful.
that's what I do.
And your name is Imtinan. What does that mean? It's a very unique
Imtinan.
name.
Imtinan means ehsan karne wala, the person who blesses others.
All right. So just like you have mentioned that you are doing so many businesses, would you please name a few of those?
One of our companies is called DSI Consulting. We're a management consulting firm. So we help local NGOs, international NGOs, and donor organizations
Hmm.
within the Asia region,
Hmm.
in Pakistan, South, Sudan as well. So
Hmm.
what we do for them is we provide research and training services for them.
Perfect.
So that's our specialty. We conduct projects for them. We
Hmm.
also implement projects for them sometimes in
Hmm.
some projects. So yeah,
Hmm.
that's our forte.
Hmm.
So this is where DSI's place is. You can probably classify that as a B2B business,
Hmm.
while as a for-profit organization, we're helping them implement their projects in various developing countries.
Hmm.
So that's one thing we do. The other thing we have, we are into real estate as well,
Hmm.
but primarily on our own portfolio of things. So we run that company as Basera.
Hmm.
So Basera handles our own portfolio and also some of our clients.
Hmm.
So that's what we do. Then the third venture is into
Hmm.
few e-commerce setups, we sell them, then we create another one, then we sell them.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's what we do. Then we are into e-learning. We are the only organization in Pakistan at the moment who is developing e-learning portals
Hmm.
for various corporate sector organizations as well,
Hmm.
and for various donors in the country too. And
That's
now we are launching our B2B platform as well.
hmm.
So yeah,
That's wonderful.
so into a couple of things really.
Hmm. So just as you mentioned that you started selling crisps in the cinema at the age of 10, how about your education? I mean,
Yeah.
how did you manage your studies and everything?
I really don't know. Maybe it's how I'm wired or how things really work for me.
Hmm.
I personally think that a person is able to achieve so many things in his or her own life.
Perfect.
So I classify things as that how productive your day is. So in
Hmm.
every way, shape, or form in our corporate lives or in our personal lives, this is what we
Hmm.
focus on, and this is what I say to my family, to my teams, to any youth member that I get these days, that you just need to see where the operational efficiency is, how you can
Hmm.
make your systems, your life more efficient. So from the very childhood, I wanted to achieve so many things in one particular day. So if
Hmm.
your day is productive, this is something that a person should ask themselves
Hmm.
before going to bed, before they hit their bed. They should ask what they've accomplished in the whole day. If they have done a lot of things, they're happy, they're satisfied with the day and how their day unfold. So that's great. If it's not, you can certainly go for more. And
Hmm.
that is something that just kept me pushing and kept me going more for more. And eventually, Alhamdulillah, I've achieved a lot. The
Hmm.
point is that I have been managing my studies at that very childhood. I've been
Hmm.
managing my studies, my education, my extracurricular activities, and much more, really. I remember that at the college, I
Hmm.
was already running two business ventures.
Hmm.
I was the All Pakistan debater. I represented my college in Pakistani debates around the country.
Hmm.
Along with that, I was also an A-class student. I topped the board at the intermediate level. I got a
Hmm.
gold medal in my bachelor's. I got a distinction in my master's, and I was the first Pakistani who got
Hmm.
admitted to the marketing program of the University of Manchester.
Hmm.
Before me, no Pakistani ever got an admission there, and I had to go through the whole rigorous process because they've never admitted any Pakistanis there. Then I
Hmm.
became the youngest chartered marketeer in the country. The
Hmm.
point is, you just need to see what you can accomplish, and if you are able enough, if you're capable enough of achieving many things at a time, go for it. Try it out. What
Hmm.
would be the worst case scenario? You won't be able to achieve all of your dreams, but what if you're able to achieve even half of it? That will
Hmm.
give you enough courage and enough greed and enough passion that you're gonna go for more in the next term.
Hmm.
So I think one can do a lot. It's just
Hmm.
that we are, unfortunately, our wings are clipped and we are
Hmm.
told that you can't really do anything or you can't do much. And that's why people don't achieve what they can really. So
Yeah.
it's just a personal question of what everyone should ask themselves, what they really want to do. And
Hmm.
certainly, the answer is not going to be one thing. You can be an entrepreneur. You can be good at music. You can be good in maths. You can have a good social circle as well, and you can be a traveler at the same
Hmm.
time. So a person could be good in many things, and this is the kind of a creed. This is the kind of a breed we need to nurture in
Hmm.
Pakistan. And unfortunately, our education institutions or our parents or our society is not creating that, and
Hmm.
that's the dilemma.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. In fact, you are such an inspiration that you have scored positions in your education time, and after that, you have been doing your businesses since the age of 10. It's wonderful.
Alhamdulillah.
You're such an inspiration, mashallah. And it sounds like, it seems like I'm talking to an angel who is so perfect in his life, mashallah. Okay, so how did you find the
Not
education
really.
system in Pakistan, by the way?
Yeah, the answer is going to be a little different. It's kind of a love-hate relationship that I have with Pakistan's education system. I like it because if you compare Pakistan's education system with many of the education systems in the world, it's quite better, and Pakistani should opt for it. But if you look for the ideal system, then Pakistani system does not really stand anywhere closer to that
Hmm.
vicinity. So yeah, it's kind of a love-hate relationship that I have with the system. First of all, the first thing I always say, and I've been saying it for the past, I think, 2 years since I'm on social media,
Hmm.
I say it to the world that never say no to education, never say no to degrees. There are
Hmm.
many people who will keep on talking about that there's
Yeah.
no point and there's no need for the degrees
Hmm.
because you can make more money doing this or doing that. The point
Hmm.
is, degrees don't really just teach you how to make money.
Yeah.
A person would
Indeed.
eventually learn how to make money in his or
Hmm.
her life. You'll
Hmm.
end up making the money which is there in your luck. So it's
Hmm.
not the question about making money. It's the question, there's so many things that you actually learn in an education system.
Hmm.
You learn how to collaborate. You learn how to work with different personalities.
Hmm.
You learn how to fail. You learn
Hmm.
how to succeed. So there's so many things that the whole system actually teaches you. So first and the foremost, go for the degrees, because
Hmm.
eventually, if this get rich quick scheme, which is normally always given as an argument or as an alternative to education system in
Hmm.
Pakistan, if that thing doesn't really work for you, at least you've got a degree that you can fall back on.
Hmm.
So at least that degree is going to help you in landing just some job,
True.
be it a freelance job or be it a full-time job. At least you've got something at your hand, rather than just having something in the air which is an artificial hoax and it doesn't really normally work.
Hmm.
So it's better to have a degree. First and the foremost thing is there.
Hmm.
The second is, yes, Pakistan's education system needs a lot of improvement. In every way, shape, or form, we need to improve that system because eventually, this system is certainly giving you the degrees. It's
Hmm.
not giving you the education that is needed. Rather, that learning environment is missing.
Hmm.
And it doesn't really start from the students. It actually starts from the teachers.
Hmm.
When you and I let me quote one of our clients. I won't be naming them. It's an international organization, and we did a research for them in Pakistan,
Hmm.
and the topic was very interesting. How you can attract quality students into teaching,
Hmm.
and that's what the problem is in Pakistan.
Hmm.
Any person who's good in his or her education would opt to go out or try CSS or try
Hmm.
something else or be an entrepreneur, but eventually would not really like to be a teacher because the
Hmm.
salaries of teachers in Pakistan are not that good. So once you do not
Indeed.
have the quality teachers, how can you expect that the students are going to be any better? First, you
Hmm.
need to hire Mir Hassan. then you can expect that these pupils are going to be Iqbal. So you cannot expect an Iqbal out of a not Mir Hassan person. So that's where the dilemma is. So first we need to fix the teachers. And how you fix it? Certainly by raising their perks and privileges, by having a proper criteria through which they actually qualify, and then you give them the salaries. And this is what I believe in, that these two institutions should be the highest paid in any country. Number one is the teachers, and number two is policemen. So, and unfortunately, these are the two where the budget cuts actually happen. So we need to fix the education system by fixing the teachers first.
Perfect.
Then what we need to do is we need to provide the exposure. Our students are good at their learning abilities, but they do not have the exposure, what really happens outside the world, outside in the market or outside your country. I remember a long time ago, I wanted to start a venture. I was very young. And, when you're young, so Farhan, at that time, it's a lot of energy and you think that you can win the world. And I started pitching various investors. And I met a Korean investor. And he gave me the lesson of life. He said that, have you traveled abroad? And I was hardly 11 years old. And I said, no, I haven't. He said, you know what? I do not invest with people who haven't really traveled that much. And I asked him the reason. Why do you do that? And he said that the ideas or the ventures that you're working out on are the ones who are either very successful or are the failures around the world, and you do not know about that. So you need to have that exposure. Unfortunately, in our country, right now, at our educational institutions, we do not provide that exposure. A student would not know how things actually work in the US or the problems the US or European systems have. So give them practical examples and practical case studies to solve. So, for example, you're learning metallurgy or physics or chemistry, then do not just cram the chemical compositions of it. Rather, give them a practical example or a practical case study that there's a tanker of XYZ company and it's losing 3% gas on every trip that it actually performs. So how are you going to fix it? Now look at the chemicals and actually go out and fix it. Now they'll learn how the practical world really works. In Pakistan, there's a lot of divide between academia and the industry, and that needs fixing. So first you need to fix the teachers, then you need to fix the exposure. Once these two things are fixed, then certainly there would be a lot of value for your degrees. And eventually when everyone goes for the education, the degrees would have value, and at the same time, people who are getting those degrees would get the jobs because there's a substance in them. Right now, there's no substance in our education, and that substance needs to be fixed.
Yeah, perfect. So you have given me two key factors. Number one, that we need to work on teachers. Specifically, we need to work on the development on the salary side. And number two, we have to give exposure to the student. Okay, both of these are wonderful solutions. Now tell me, how is that possible? What is the baby step to do it? And who is the one who's responsible to make these things work in Pakistan?
Great question. I would not name some of the educational institution chains in Pakistan, but we all know about them. So these educational institutions who have got 300, 400 schools, if you look at their teachers, there's a regular teacher training program. And these programs are run by private institutions who are international. So the international faculty is going to come in. They're going to educate these 200, 300 odd teachers of that particular education chain, and they'll go back. Now, in Pakistan, we do have a teacher training program run by the government and also run by the provincial governments. But if you look at intrinsically into those systems, they're not working. They're broken systems. Even the government institutions teachers do not really go there. So that whole model is divided and the whole model is broken. So right now, what we're talking about is that there are two steps. One is the government institutions and one is the private institutions. The government institutions have a broken system and the faculty is not being trained. At the private institutions, there is a training available, but that training is not run on a particular curriculum. It's run by these international training organizations who come to Pakistan, train as they want to be trained, or they want the teachers to be trained, and then they mint the money and then they go back. Now, in this system, eventually, do not think of the teachers, think of the students. Think of the students, that a student who has been trained in an education institution run by the government where the teachers are not being trained, what would be the output? And at the same time, what would be the output of a private institution? There's going to be a lot of divide. It's not going to help your society to grow eventually. So right now, what needs to be done is, first of all, we need to fix these institutions who are responsible for the teacher training. So these institutions need to be robust. They need to have a comprehensive curriculum. They should not be run by the open university, and the government should focus on teacher training as much as the current government is focusing on a single national curriculum. So first you need to fix the teachers, then you can fix the students. So right now, fixing the students with a single curriculum, and there's already a lot of debate on that, you can't really achieve your numbers. So there should be a standard operating procedure for the teacher training, be it government institution or private institution. Once you have the same caliber of teachers, then you can expect that there's going to be a monotony between government institution and between a private sector institution. In a developed country, if you look at, or the country which is really progressing, in those countries, you do not see a flourishing private education system. In Pakistan, there's a flourishing institutions everywhere. In any city you find, or in any metropole that you find, there's a great business education. Education should not be a business. It should be the state responsibility. But let me be very, very honest with you. You and I will not send our children to a government institution right now unless we fix them. So one way of fixing the system to me is you need to fix the teacher training institutions. Then number two, you need to raise their perks and privileges. See, army, and we have a great respect for Pakistan Army. Pakistan Army is doing a great responsibility, and the salaries are good and the perks are good. Likewise, PIA, Pakistan International Airlines or Pakistan Railway, the employees are very well taken care of. But when it comes to education, and there are hardly 100,000 teachers in Pakistan, or 110,000, according to the recent survey. You just need to fix these 110,000 people, and the whole country will be fixed. I remember somebody asked George Bernard Shaw once that how you're going to fix the education system. And he said, first fix the teachers and fix the mothers. If a mother is educated, the child would eventually be educated. So right now, we need to fix the teachers. We need to raise their perks and privileges and give them good incentives to be into teaching, so that we can attract the quality people, a quality student into education, into teaching. And along with that, there are many things that the education institutions can do, and also the government can do. So first of all, single national curriculum for the teachers as well, so that there's no divide between a government and a private institution. And also something which is highly neglected, and we expect, and I expect, that the current government should do something about that. Even in India, I'm not talking about all the developed countries, even in India, there's a fixed regulation that says that every corporate organization should be spending 2% of their profits into corporate social responsibility. Now, CSR fund is highly neglected. It's voluntary in Pakistan, so there's no law that says that you have to. It's not mandatory. It's voluntary. If they want to do it, they want to do it. Now, what needs to be done is that there are two problems in Pakistan when it comes to taxation. Number one, the corporate wants the CSR to be there so that their taxes can be lowered. And also, not the corporate, but the business community, be it right now I'm sitting in Islamabad, so the business community of this particular sector would also want their taxes to be lowered. So why don't we let them, the business community and the corporate sector, adopt a government school, where they're responsible for the furniture and fixture and also the teachers' salaries. Because now this community is going to send their kids to a government institution. So they would love the education institution to be fixed. So private sector should be neglected in here. I'm not saying that kill all the private sector. There'll always be a private sector. Even in the UK and in the US, there are grammar schools. So private sector is always going to be there. You cannot end that. And certainly it's going to be a business. You can't really end that as well. But I'm not saying that kill the business. Let it be an industry, but at the same time, fix the government institution. My worry is not that somebody who's going to Roots or somebody who's going to Beacon House or somebody who's going to City School, what would be the output? We all know it is going to be a classy output. But what would be the output of the 85% Pakistani nation who goes to a government institution? if there's going to be a divide between rich or poor, then this divide is going to keep on increasing. Fix
Hmm.
it, because otherwise you're going to kill the middle class of the country. And where the middle class is killed, there's always going to be a revolution. So we
Hmm.
can't afford a revolution. We've already seen enough turmoil in political scenario. We can't really afford that. So right now we need to fix our system, and we can fix it ourselves. We don't need
Hmm.
foreign funding for that, or a lot of money to pay teachers well. Just
Hmm.
fix it.
Perfect, perfect solution. And just as you were mentioning, Nelson Mandela said both of the things. For instance, he said, "You give me, I mean, how would I convince people for education if on the other side is the money?" And number two, he
Yeah,
said, "You give me the educated women, and I'll give you the strong nation." So on both of the side, we are
so true.
missing. And Imtinan, just as you have mentioned that there is a gap between the education sector and the industry requirement. How can we eliminate that?
Yep.
Because at the end, it's the student who's on the loser side.
Yeah.
It's the youngster who are suffering. So how can we eliminate the gap between the education system and the
Hmm.
industry?
Two ways to answer this question. One is I was sitting with the HR head of a leading organization in Pakistan. I can't name them right now, but he said that in our advertising, in our
Hmm.
ads, recruitment ads, we can't really say that Federal Urdu University or students from Allama Iqbal Open University should not apply. We can't really say that,
Hmm.
but we know once the applications are going to be there, we know who we need to prefer. It's going to be
Hmm.
alums, or it's going to be IBA, or it's going to be NAS, or it's
Hmm.
going to be Qaid Azam University. So there are a few hand-picked institutions in the country. We all know that the output is going to be good. Now, they say we can't really do that, but we have legally, but we have to give a chance to everyone.
Hmm.
Now, the problem is not that how you can improve the output of NAS, LUMS, or IBA. The output of Federal Urdu or Allama Iqbal University should be improved. I
Hmm.
see, or I foresee, that later on, not now, maybe 5 years or 10 years down the road, just like MD CAT, that before going into a medical institution, I know there was a time in our times it used to be just a merit list of FSC marks. You've got the
Hmm.
marks, you go to the medical school. But
Hmm.
now you've got different tests, conducted by different institutions. Likewise, once you're qualified as an MBA, or you're qualified as a master's or a bachelor's, I think there's going to be a test later on one day, because you can't really improve every institution or every university. There are 167 degree awarding institutions. You can't really fix them. Ideally, it's not hard. But if you
Hmm.
can't fix 167 universities or their outputs or their faculty, then
Hmm.
introduce a test. Whosoever has passed that particular test is capable enough to be qualified in MBA.
Hmm.
Although there would be two different kind of people. One would be an MBA from Open University, and one would be an MBA from NAS. They both would have to appear,
Hmm.
because maybe that student from Allama Iqbal Open University has got so much exposure, or have read so many books, or have done so many internships, that
Hmm.
he or she can actually answer those questions. So there's going to be a criteria, so that these organizations who do not prefer students from Open University or Federal Urdu University should actually give them a chance as well. Now, the other way of answering this particular
Hmm.
question is,
Hmm.
which is quite important for Pakistan, and Pakistanis need to understand this, and especially the government.
Hmm.
If you go to the UK, I'll give you an example of the British education system. Now, in Britain, you don't really have to be an MBA. So let's say you've got 16 years of education, you're an MBA, and there's a particular job, and you're qualified for that.
Hmm.
Or you might be just a third standard pass student who has never seen a school out other than these 3 years of his life. But
Hmm.
this person has got 5 or 7 years of experience.
Hmm.
So what you need to do is you need to compare education with experience.
Hmm.
Someone who's not an MBA, but he has got 20 years of experience working in a corporate culture or working in a
Hmm.
factory, knows how things are done. So
Hmm.
you can't really ask that person to go back to the university and get the degree, because this person
Hmm.
has already got that
A
particular
lot
experience.
than what
So
is
in the
required.
UK, what they do is,
Hmm.
if you've got 10 years of experience, you're qualified to take an admission in an MBA. You don't need a
Hmm.
BBA. You don't need a matriculation. You don't
Oh,
need
that's a
any A
wonderful
levels or O levels.
approach. Hmm.
So these are the two things, and this is what I say to everyone. Um, an average Pakistani university goer would
Hmm.
spend 16 years of education, and then that person would spend another 5 6 years
Hmm.
in a corporate culture, and then would probably be at the managerial level at some organization.
Hmm.
On the contrary, a chota who's helping ustad on a chai ka stall
Hmm.
would actually start the business when he's hardly 10, and by the age this person is 25 or 26, he
Hmm.
would already have 3 or 4 entrepreneurial setups running. And
Hmm.
later on, you'll find out that our graduate chap is actually working for this chota, and this
Hmm.
chota has become a state. Why? Why does that happen? It happens because this chota has got the exposure of life while you've just
Hmm.
got the education. So
Hmm.
education and exposure, they work hand in hand.
Hmm.
Either follow the education system, get the degrees, get the education, and also try
Hmm.
getting the exposure. But if someone has not got the education and that person has got the exposure, that person
Hmm.
would still be ahead in the market, would still be progressing in life,
Hmm.
because education and exposure work hand in hand.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, in Pakistan, we only focus on education. We do
Yeah,
not like
not
to
on
talk about
exposure.
exposure. Once we start giving our students exposure, practical experience, then not only the divide between the academia and industry would be
Hmm.
covered, but at the
Hmm.
same time, our student would be something of a class. When it
Hmm.
goes out, this product, this graduate goes out in the market, would be worth hiring.
Hmm. True. Well, Itnanan, every single person whosoever is watching this interview, they're gonna get to know that today they have got a perfect example. You are a topper, you have got exposure, but your exposure side is way heavier than your education side. This is what I have experienced as well. And every single thing
Hmm.
that you were telling me, that you were sharing with us today, of course, these were not from the books. These were from your own
Yep.
experiences, from your own
So true.
observation, your perception, and everything.
Hmm.
Well, Imtinan, it was so tremendous listening to you. I really enjoyed your conversation,
Pleasure.
and every single thing that you have said was really, really worth listening to. And I hope people will get benefit from this conversation as well. And thank you so very much
Certainly.
for your time. Thank you so very much for your
Thank you
time.
for having me, Farhad.
Pleasure is all
It's
mine.
been a
Pleasure
pleasure.
is all. Likewise, man. All right, then take care. Stay blessed. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.